start by warming up the body. So a really nice gentle flow, legs wide apart, toes turned out. And we're going to stretch the arms out wide. If you've got no niggles on your ankles, rise up through the heels and feel that squeeze and stretch up the legs. Again, if there's no niggles in your ankles and it's just a challenge for your balance, see if you can keep your heels lifted and sink down through the hips. Arms by the side, stretch for the side walls. Try and lift the heels a tiny bit higher, and then heels down, hands on the knees. Twist for the spine, take the shoulders towards the opposite knee, and the other side. Take that each side again while I explain. The next, we'll roll down to the floor, drop the head, and then we're rolling up through the spine and straightening the legs, and we go all over again. So join me, legs open, toes open, so we've got that turn out. Breathe in and stretch, rising up. So press the balls of the feet into the floor and stretch fingertips to the ceiling. And then knees open towards the side wall. We want to protect the knees, keep the thighs open wide, knees tracking over the toes until we come into this balance, stretching wide. And again, any discomfort in the ankles, just lower the heels. Try to take it maybe a little bit lower, then hands on the knees, and let's take a twist. So maybe 2, 3 rounds. You can pause. If this is the nicest part of this flow, stay here. If you're feeling tightness in the back of the body, stay in this forward fold for a little bit longer before you roll up through the spine. So whilst we're moving continuously or working our way through the same flow, we can pause at any stage just to make it our own. Chest open wide, inner thigh stretch, and into the twist. So we'll just take one more round after this. We'll find the floor, shake out the head, and then straightening up through the spine if you're at the same point as me. And the last time we'll go through. Nice deep breath in and stretch. Knees to the side walls, arms to the side walls. Get that work into the hips, inner thighs, heels down, and a stretch. So hopefully that was enough just to focus your mind so you can switch off from any other strains and stresses in the world and just focus on this continuous movement with any pauses along the way that you feel you want to take. The next time we come up to standing, let's take the head in a gentle circle around, no forcing, and then in the other direction. Hold the shoulders if you've got any niggles in the shoulders, otherwise we're rounding the shoulders forwards, up to the ears, flip the palms, chest open wide, yawn if you need to, and then reach down into the fingertips. Feel that into the triceps as the arms reach behind the body. This time with the chin to the chest, rounding the arms forwards, maybe the little fingers come together. Like a big yawn, opening, flip the palms, externally rotating the shoulders, chest open wide, and then shoulders back and down, the fingertips towards the earth, backs of the hands reaching to each other. Last time, chin to chest, this time we can bend the knees, so stretching the whole of the back of the body. And then lifting, deep breath in, and then lower the arms. All right, have a little shrug. Let's take that circle now into the hips and all the way around. So we can support the legs, the crease at the top of the legs, and the pelvis drawing a circle on the floor. And in the other direction. And then down to the knees. So for this, we'll take the feet in a little bit closer, holding the knees. Feet stay on the floor. So it's just a question of stretching those stabilizing muscles of the ankles and knees. No forcing. And the other way. And last of all, into the ankles. So let's place the weight into your right foot. I'm mirroring here. If you need to hold the wall, that's fine. And let's circle that left ankle. Moving into the toes as well. If you've got your balance, we can move the wrists as well, the fingers. We're in both directions. And then we're going to stretch the top of the foot. So we bend the standing leg and glide the back toe, the toes behind you. Think about the big toe and the second toe initially, and almost pull forwards away so we're getting a stretch on the tops of those biggest two toes. To get the next three toes, we'll swivel around and feel a gentle pull on the top of the foot. Definitely no weight bearing. Cramping is normal, so then you might just need to bend the toes. And let's take it to the other side. Weight into your standing leg, let's circle. Add on the wrists, if you wish, both directions. And then to the top of the foot. Big toe, second toe. Plant the foot a little bit behind the body, and then almost draw your body forwards just to find length in the front of the foot. One more breath here. And then the little toes rolling out to the side. Definitely no weight on the foot. All right. While you take a few kickbacks, let me explain the next. Like with Utkatasana, but with your big toes together, knees together. And our flow will be big chest opener into your chair. Now again, if your heels, ankles are okay, we're taking a lift into the heels. Hands come into prayer, down to the floor, heels to the floor, and then we'll roll up and off we go again. So let's go together. Big toes together, heels together. Deep breath in. And as you breathe out, try to sit back in the heels, taking your chair pose, that squat. Feel the squeeze now in the knees, the glutes, and lengthen the spine. If you can, we'll roll forwards onto the balls of the feet. Face you onto the balls of the feet. And then we're rolling down through the heels, through the upper body. Find the floor, straighten the legs, and roll up through the spine. Few more, and again, as with that opening exercise, we can take a pause. If we want to work on strengthening the quads, the glutes, you may pause here a little bit longer and not take the heels off. If you want to work on your balance, we can lift up through the heels. Now, inner thighs, if press the knees together, squeeze the glutes. Imagine you're holding a block in the hands, and let's circle between the hands and pressing in, so creating some resistance. And then heels down all the way. Hamstring stretch as we straighten the legs and roll up through the spine. We'll take the list as the last one. Breathe in and open. And breathing out, sitting back into the heels. Slight tailbone tuck so we lengthen the base of the spine. Let's draw together those front ribs, navel to spine, pelvic floor lifts, inner thigh, the whole body working here. If you can, lift up through the heels, maybe sink a little bit lower, like you're about to sit in a low chair. And then all the way down, well done. Straightening up, rolling up. And to finish, let's take a deep breath in, stretch into the ceiling, and then melt the arms down, shrug out. So again, kicking back just where we've stretched those hamstrings. Another little flow. So we're going to take it side to side, so don't worry about how many rounds you do or if you're at the same pace as me. We'll place the heel of one foot in front, hamstring stretch. We're going to scoop all the way down, feeling that lovely stretch in the back of the leg. Now we're taking knee into the chest. So you might want to gently bend your standing leg and then straighten up. Into a lunge, rebend that standing leg, hinge forward and place the foot. We're in a high lunge. And then we're stepping together. We'll do then the other side. So leaning forwards, weight into your front leg, and step to the front. So do it the same to the other side. Plant the heel of the foot. We flow down, scooping in the abs, feeling that length in the back of the leg, knee to chest. However, briefly challenge your balance to step back into that lunge. Bend your standing leg, hinge forward and place. Briefly standing tall to get the hip flexor stretch. And then we finish. Lean forward, weight into the front foot and return. Okay, we're good with that. Let's go again. So your original foot and flow down, hamstring. Standing tall, knee to chest. Bend a standing leg, take a high lunge. Hands can be on the hips, slight tailbone tuck. Leaning forwards and return, other side. So don't worry if you're not at the same pace. Glide up. Remember, wall here is fine. Wobbling is fine. Chest open wide, just breathing and pausing long enough to lengthen through the hip flexors. Last couple of rounds. Scoop and rise up. So when we wobble, let's try and embrace that. Sometimes the brain just needs to calibrate and think, okay, I wobbled too far on that side, I need to engage more on that side. So it's all a kind of learning process for the brain and the stabilizing muscles of the body. So little finger on the wall for stability is fine. Last round each side. But definitely no frustration if there's a little bit of a wobble. And you can keep your toe on the floor here. This is as much a challenge for your balance if that's where you're at today. We're on the last leg. Hamstring, fold and scoop. Knee, just lift it as high as it wants to go. Stepping back, find your balance, hip flexor stretch. And then we're returning. Last thing we'll do, standing up before we come down to the mat. We'll take the standing saw. So let's open the legs wide, a little turn out in the toes, in the foot, and we're reaching for the little toe, and we take a pulse with a strong pulling in the core. So navel to spine, front ribs together. So let's breathe in to start, arms wide. Take that twist and reach, scoop in the abs, pulse, pulse. Breathe in to reset the other side. The strength of that out breath. Feel that corset around your waist, pulling in strongly. So if this pace that I'm going at is a little bit too fast and you're feeling a little bit too much of a stretch down the backs of the legs, one, go slower. You can take a gentle bend into the knees. Better a soft bend in the knees than locking out the knees. So as always, making it your own, you know your body best. For the last round, let's give it the biggest possible squeeze in the abs you can manage. And length, squeeze, rebuild, last side. Squeeze, lengthen, and together. Toe and heel the feet in, have a little shake out. And we're going to take a medium position here between the floor and the standing and the mat. We're going to take like a mini sun salutation. I'll demonstrate. We're breathing in, stretching overhead. We're breathing out to fold. We'll step the right foot back and we'll take a twist open. We'll lower the hand, step forward, and we'll repeat to the other side. So let's together breathe in and stretch overhead. Breathe out to fold. Step back with your other foot if you started. The foot you stepped back with, the corresponding hand stays on the floor. Opposite hand lifts to get that twist. We replace the hand, step forwards, and we go again, side to side. So taking up what for many people is the most awkward part of the sun salutations. That stepping forwards. We just adding on this twist, lovely stretch in the hip. So we can reduce how far we step back. Maybe fingertips to the floor and a medium position here to stretch and return. And gradually, as we feel more agility, more strength to step back, we can take the foot a little bit further. So going side to side for the last few rounds, and then we'll be truly down to the mat for the second half of the class. And we'll all be doing classes for different reasons. So if you want to feel that continuous flow and you feel you need to get moving, then keep flowing through from one position to the next. Otherwise, if you feel you need a stretch, I'd encourage you to just pause and feel your way. Each position gives us an opportunity to lengthen different muscle groups. Last set each side. So wherever you are, make the next your last. And then we'll be coming down to the mat. So you use that time to have you do your last side. I'll move the camera down. And we're ready to move on. Brilliant. So let's start by lying on our bellies. A little bit of strength work for the shoulders, the back of the body. So we'll start on our bellies. We're going to squeeze the legs together, so we're still working the inner thighs. Forehead to the floor, arms overhead in a wide V. Now we have the option of floating the hands up and then making cactus arms all the way until the elbows come into the waist. We can float the head off and lengthen right into the fingertips and keep hovering. We can float the legs off, but try to keep the bend out of the knees, keep the straight, long line right into the toes. So different levels of intensity, but the main focus here is on a long back of the neck and a strong movement from the fingertips reaching overhead into these cactus arms and elbows into the waist. Shoulders are rolling back away from the floor. Breathing deeply as you move. Try to press the pubic bone into the floor. We're trying to avoid a back bend here. So it's all about finding length from the toes to when the fingers are stretched overhead. Keep rolling the shoulders back away from the floor. So any neck and tension in the neck, of course, we're strengthening, we're working the neck muscles, but if that's a strain, rest the forehead on the floor. Great, last two here. You're pulling your head through a cloud, pulling the elbows into the waist. The last one, and then we're taking a child pose while I explain the next mini flow. So from an extended child pose, we'll roll forwards into a plank. It can be a knee plank or a high plank. Whether it's the knees down, we're going to straighten one leg and kick, replace the other leg, straighten, kick, and replace. We'll come down to the belly, a little bit of a curl up, and then back to the extended child pose. So hopefully that gives you a picture of what we're doing. We'll do it all together now. Extended child pose. Creep the nose forwards, come into a knee plank or a high plank. Find that length in the spine. Look at the floor, lengthen through one leg and extend behind, return, then the other. Squeeze the glutes, think length over height. Your version of coming down to the floor. It might be the chaturanga, otherwise knees down, that negative push-up. Roll the shoulders back for a baby cobra or full up dog if your spine's warm enough. Extended child pose. Now we're starting to get a bit warmer. Pause at any point. Do you feel you need a little bit of a rest? We can come forwards into our plank, knee plank, and we're extending through one leg. Try to keep the hips level. Coming down to the mat, so that might be knees first. This negative push-up is a great way for strengthening the muscles we need for the full push-up. Shoulders back and down, chin tucked, and take an extended child pose. Last one. Come forwards into your plank, your version. Extend the leg, the other leg, down to the mat. Elbows brushing the waist if you can. Spine extension. And then into a child pose. And you can pause there for a little breather. Have a little rock side to side. Circle out the wrists. And when you're ready, we'll come onto our side. So if you mirror me and lie on your left-hand side, we'll start with a clown. So point the toes, top leg bend. Feel the back of the knee of the back leg with your toes. Core pulled in, and then let's climb open the knee. Let's steady the breath now. Squeeze the glutes. Try to stabilize the upper body. Limit the wavering in the upper body. So all those stabilizing muscles we've been preparing in the first half of the class now kicking in, and the brain has more awareness. Great. Give me 2 more of these. And then we're going to go straight to the other side. So when you're ready, flipping onto the other side. This kind of Cleopatra setup or lying down. Start by finding that long line so we can use the front edge of the mat if you're on one as a guide. And then we can bend the top knee. So we can open and use the pressure of the toes on the back leg to help us open a little bit further. So mobility, flexibility, hip opening, the external rotators being worked here. Try and keep the jaw soft. And throughout, can we try to think about the 2 hip points being drawn together? So those lower abdominals stay lightly engaged throughout, but they kick in all the more when we're challenging the balance through movement and that hip opening on the last couple. So while you do 2 more, I'll roll onto my back. We'll take like half Apanasana, a flow, where we're going to hold behind the knee. Option to curl up, and we're stretching the legs apart. And we're taking our time to switch. So that we're now focusing on the core. So when you're ready, join me on your back. We'll hold behind the knee, because this gives us more leverage to lift the upper body. Let's keep the navel to the spine, spine into the mat, shoulders down. Any niggles in your neck, leave the head on the floor. You almost have to work harder then to keep the lower spine imprinted. So here we're just warming up the core, ready for the next little flow, which you're all very familiar with. We'll be taking that reverse curl, optional plow, to roll up into a spine stretch. All right, so you carry on or glance up. We want the backs of the shoulders and the elbows into the floor. We'll press using the strength in the upper body to roll and lift the hips. Maybe this is how far you come, maybe we're in the full plow. So find your level. And then we lower the hips with as much control as we can. You feel that strength working to your triceps, lowering the legs, chin to chest. We're reaching for that pot of gold beyond the toes. And in the forward fold, we then melt back down. So let's make a continuous movement. Strength, you can bend, it's easier to come up with bent knees to get that reverse curl. So it may be a reverse curl, feet to the floor, around up here, into a forward fold. So whether the knees are bent or straight, just try a few different things. Maybe the legs straight for more of a challenge. But notice that as you take that reverse curl, whether it's all the way over into the plow or we're just managing to get a little bit of a lift in the hips, we really want to avoid those shoulders lifting too high. So as we roll back, immediately thinking of the backs of the shoulders and elbows, even fists into the floor to give us that strength to press away and prise the hips off the floor. Try to avoid turning your head in this reverse curl position. The neck is somewhat compromised in that position. Amazing, you're warming up. Have the next as your last. And then as you lower down, you can hug the knees into the chest and have a little rock on the spine. Next, we're going for an open V into the obliques. So, I have my back to you, it might make more sense. Let's lift the legs up to the ceiling. Fine for them to be bent. But from an extended position, arms out in a wide T, we'll open the legs wide, that inner thigh stretch, and then try and reach into the toes and create some resistance to draw the legs together. With the legs straight or bent, we can lower towards one side and to the center, lower towards the other side, loading on those obliques, and center, and off we go again. So we point the toes or bend the knees, open V, sway, reset, sway to the other side, and reset. So continuous. So now we want to have that awareness into the upper body, chin tucked into the chest. If you're finding that hard, a little block under the head is good, just to keep that length in the back of the neck. Let's place a bit of strength into the backs of the arms and into the backs of the hands. So we're keeping that contact with the floor. Give me one more set. And then hug your knees into the chest. Absolutely brilliant. Little rock on the spine. Let's place the left foot on the floor, right leg up to the ceiling. Walk the hands at the back of the leg and we'll pause in that hamstring stretch. Breathe deeply, you know the hard work is done. And let's curl the toes to the face. Point and flex. Same lifted foot, place the ankle on the opposite thigh. Figure 4 stretch. Push into the top of the thigh, that top leg. And if you're not getting any stretch there, thread through. A little rock side to side should help you identify that sweet spot. Nice stretch in the hip. And then we'll pause there. Breathe into wherever is tight. The gentle sway if you need a little bit more coaxing into that softening. Pausing just long enough to feel heaviness through the body. And then we'll take that hamstring stretch to the other side. So gently replace the foot to the floor. Other leg up to the ceiling. Hold support at the back of the leg and let's point through to the toes and then curl the toes to the face. Point and flex. And then figure 4 stretch. A flexed foot, externally rotating this top leg. Little sway, optional thread through with the hands behind the thigh. Finding a little sway until you feel that sweet spot and then pause. Breathe into it. And let everything start to settle down. So one more full breath here. And then we'll slowly release the leg. And you're going to take one full body stretch Roll the head side to side. Spread the fingers and the toes. Stretching out wide, angel wing those hands down to the thighs and draw the knees into the chest. Last little rock on the spine. To come up, you roll on to one side. And there's half an hour.